So this is our group project of BISM7217. Our project proposal is for Woolworth Limited. Our topics are like Woolworth analyst. First, we're going to talk about a business summary. Woolworth Limited is a retail giant with primary activity in supermarket based on Australia and New Zealand. They're in the Australian Stock Exchange. Their code is WOW. Wow. Woolies are like the primary activities in supermarkets, and their operations include Big W, discount department stores, home improvement, and petrol through the Woolworths Coltex Alliance, and hotels. First, I want to talk about their supermarkets, is what we are focusing on. Woolies operate 1,179 supermarkets in Australia and New Zealand. Supermarket in Australia includes Woolworths and Thomas Dukes. Supermarket in New Zealand including Countdown, Food Town, Woolworths, Fresh Choice, and Super Value. And the other is like liquor. Woolies operate 1,500 liquor outlet, including BWS, Dane Murphy, and Langtowns and Cellarmaster. Woolies also operates a business through online channels. And we're going to talk about other categories like Big W. Pronounced of a discounts general merchandise product for release through 185 stores in Australia. The hotels provisions of leisures and hospitality service, including food and alcohol, accommodations, and entertainment and gaming through 320 premium hotels. And last, we're going to talk about the discounting operations. Woolies operate Petros, pronouncement of produce to release through over 500 companies across Australia. The others are like home improvement. It's like home improvement procedures like a release through 44 hardware stores and 58 master stores in Australia. And Woolies, based on the recent news that Woolworths are going to close 30 underperforming Big W stores in the next 3 years over the next 3 years of increasing numbers of shoppers took their business online. So what we're going to do like in this project is like we're going to see if online purchasing or like doing online is a benefit for Woolworths, or what they're going to do in the trend of online shopping.
Regarding to our motivation of the research, we would like to identify the real business problems, as nowadays consumers have significantly shifted their consumer behavior from going to a real site store to shop their groceries. Instead, they can actually go online and order and rely on the logistic to deliver their purchase. And as Woolworth, as one of the biggest retail chain in Australia, we have put sufficient and a large amount on investment on online shopping. And we do understand that initially, starting from 2009, when we implemented this online shopping model, that we put the investment in this online shopping model. And we would like to know after 10 years, is it sufficient enough? Is it how does it go? How does the customer react? And if they have already changed their consumer behavior in recent years, and should we go deep on the online shopping model, or a retail store is actually better suited in Australia? And this is the 10th year, and we should we harvest to look on this online shopping model, or just look back and to examine how this effective online shopping is for consumers. So the real situation lies behind is the consumer behavior. We know the consumer is very affected and very spoiled by the retail chain. they can have a great experience. They can leave some comments on the internet, and then they go word of mouth, friends' suggestions, or they can easily Google and to see how it goes within the business and to rate your business and whether they're likely to go to your store to have a future purchase or their recognition of the brand. If they like your brand, they will wait there. They will wait in line. They're willing to do that. Or some spoiled customer that they visit your store, they couldn't find anything, and they will turn to your competitor. These are so many factors around the consumer behavior behind that we are trying to solve. Thus, the important is that we're not going to let our consumer come into our store and turn out to, oh, they don't have the things that I want, and turn it to our competitor. That's why the online channel shopping is very important. Is that we can guarantee that they can buy most of their groceries or alcohol in our chain instead of going to other competitors. So we do have some questions regarding to this raising amount of data that we have collected from the online shopping model. So first, when looking back at the financial data, what is the trend within this 5 years data or 10 years data? We do summary our financial report saying, oh, this year have already significantly increased revenue increased by 3%, 5%. What does it actually mean? And can we build a more clear model for store managers to understand our financial data? Because store managers or local regional managers are the one who decided to operation to investment on the stock and to see whether to their strategy, their current business is coping with the Woolworth group business. Thirdly, regarding to every year increased revenue, where does it majorly comes from? This is also a question that we first look at the financial data and we can identify that, oh, maybe it's from here or maybe it's from there, but we don't have a specific model for, we cannot foresee what is going on. And fourthly, what is the optimum level of profit? Looking at financial data report and revenue and the related operation cost, that we know this 5% or even 10% revenue is great, but what is the optimum level taking into account of other factors? Lastly, is that should we decide to expand our existing physical stores or put more emphasis on expanding e-commerce? Like I just mentioned, just looking at financial data, the percentage of the operation cost or related to our current online business, should we, after 10 years, should we harvest on online business and go further to more investment on online, to go more marketing strategy, or actually an in-store physical store is better suited for Australians?
So let's move on to the recession topics. We're talking about the importance of the business analytics. The first things we're going to talk about is receive data from revenue and expense. But first, data collection. Second, data access. And third, data extraction. Business analytics allows enterprise to analyze historical and current data for decision making. Enterprise utilize good quality data to sustain competitive advantage in the competitive market. And the data-driven organization could contain from data collection, data access, and extracting data from analyzing the sales and company revenue to predict the future profitable products that Woolies may focus on. Instead of separating business departments and running on their own, an enterprise should have an ability to combine all parts of the enterprise, and data analytics can greatly simplify the process of task. such as helping the executive to decide how many subsidies should be set up by analyzing financial performance. Although being a data-driven enterprise requires cooperation, data analyst related com- competency, and professional training programs, we still strongly recommend it. By adopting data-driven analytics to business strategies and assist enterprise to maintain competitive advantage. So we talked about identifying a significant issue in focal firms. Woolworths, Woolies limited current business strategies to build a better online shopping platform and provide a good after-sales delivery service by understanding the needs of customers. Due to the booming of the internet in recent years, consumers have increasingly inclined to shop online based on the convenience and less time-consuming transaction process. In addition, as Amazon and other global companies enter the Australian markets, competitions in the retail sales markets is becoming more and more intense. Um, and, and the problem with brick and mortar stores are high rental fees and the rising inventory and wage costs. These factors clearly point out the Woolies should continue on focusing the development of online marketing and improve related product software and mobile apps. Furthermore, in addition, Woolies plans to close a month of 30 Big W discount stores over the next 3 years due to the competitions of Kmart or online business in the retail industry. So in this graph, we can see that the channel value percentage growth over these days. The online profit gained 23.8% and is going grow rapidly, and so there's at the other Woolworths calls from this perspective, there should be more focusing on the online service.
So next, we're going to look at the current online service for Woolworths Group Limit. And the first one is the Click and Collect and the mobile app Compass, online grocery app, and Apple Pay and Google Pay. Woolworths has certainly developed many online services in recent years. The first one is for Click and Collect. This service benefits the customer as they can select the goods they need on the internet and then go through the pickup point to complete a one-time purchase. This service greatly reduces the transaction time of consumers. In addition, through the collection and utilization of data on sales of goods, Woolworths launched a mobile app called Compass, which provides consumers and suppliers with an understanding of the changes in daily and the popularity of each product. This can encourage suppliers to develop better products to meet customers' expectations. Finally, Woolworths' online grocery app provides customers to browse and track their orders with the GPS function service, and this helps customers with easier operations on purchasing goods. And with the launch of Apple and Google Pay, also give clients ease of shopping, which connects customers from physical storefronts to digital platforms. In conclusion, as long as Woolworths Group Limit continue to focus on the customer satisfaction and the collection of product data to cope with the fast-growing online world, they can design more suitable online sales service platforms and increase the company profits. Later on, we will focus on collecting the sales revenue and expense data to analyze the trend that Woolworths should keep on investing more on the online platform.
So let's talk about identifying a significant issue in the focal firm, current online service for Woolworths Ltd. First was Click and Collect, second the mobile apps Compass, third the online grocery apps, fourth that'd be Apple Pay and Google Pay. So To understand the trend of the developing online stores around the world, we gathered the online retail data set with the 38 different countries over cities over 530,000 records of data from Kaggle. We use R to demonstrate different countries like Australia and New Zealand with the highest revenue for online retail stores and analyze revenue trends. With daily transactional data, we examine the monthly revenue by different territories. According to the figures, we can realize that our developing online shops is an increasing trend of United Kingdom, from Australia and New Zealand. Phenomenon is, and it might be influenced by the essential events in December. So it's most likely the Christmas sale. However, online retail stores can make good use of promotion and stimulating consumers. It's all, and further on, we're going to talk about the we use our studio. According to the analyst shown here, though the operating expense has decreased gradually, operating revenue Woolies is also decreasing. So as a consequence, the study suggests that Woolies should invest in online stores to strive to breaking the current situation. So,
Due to advancement in technology and the prevalence of the internet, people tend to shop online rather than physical stores. Therefore, our key objective is to realize whether it is feasible for Woolworths to embark on the online store. In order to analyze the performance of Woolworths and further assist the manager to develop the online shop strategy, we collected financial related data from Woolworths' annual report. The example of detailed annual report shows as follows. Consolidated statement of profit or loss represents the profit and loss in a certain period. Consolidated statement of cash flows reveals cash inflow and outflow in the operating, investing, and financing activities of Woolworths. Among the data, we can understand revenue sources of Woolworths and the profit data. After extracting data and analyzing how to improve the performance in future for Woolworths, we can help the executive make better decisions. According to a consolidated statement of profit and loss in the annual report, it shows most of operating revenues are from the sales of goods and services. When further analyzing the operating revenue data, we can realize the operating revenue has faced a decreasing trend. At the same period of time, the operating expenses also shows a decreasing trend. We further examine the investing activities cash flow. Shows there is no significant change in recent years, which means payments for property, plant and equipment, and intangible assets do not have a significant difference in the examined period.
we talk about the data cleaning process. We need to remove the missing data before we analyze the data. Like, there are three ways to do it. First, like removing an attribute. Second is like replacing a value, and third is removing the roles. About the removing attribute, about 1% of values and description attributes are missing. The best approach to deal with such attributes is removing them, as they will not help to accurate like predictions. Second, the replacing of values. Invoice numbers attributes has 100 missing values. These missing values should be replaced. A third, the removing roles. We could filter these examples out the data set. Where like after cleaning, there's no missing values of the columns. So we're going to move on to the prediction model. Let's build the prediction model. How well is the model going to perform? This step involves creating, training, validating data sets. In this case, we use 70-30 ratio. The 70% of part portions like becomes our training set that we built our model on. The remaining 30% becomes our test set against which we can compare our model's predictions. This is a final outcome to the error terms. Okay, let's move on to the next section, implementing the regression model. We got the rapid minor in process below in this graph, and about the linear regressions model. The regression model of single cell spending prediction can be expressed with the following equations, as like over here, and the regression is like here. So as we can see, there's like color 4 stars here. So it's like it is relatively important, like significantly important. So we talked about identifying significant convictions. We identify the quantity and unit price of the significant, and in the end, let's look at the result of after applying the model to our validating data set. The difference between actual and predicted, the value we calculate above the sales amount for each sales. This is an average prediction rate selling was like 19.7 on average.